After making 2 albums for RCA Records, the 3 members of Muna found themselves without a record label. But the resilient trio of Katie Gavin, Naomi McPherson, and Josette Maskin have bounced back big time, having just been signed to Phoebe Bridgers' new label, Saddest Factory. Here now are Katie, Naomi, and Josette to tell us their story. I think you were on tour with, who is it, Casey Musgraves?
Yeah, we were on tour with Casey in just the top of the year.
And how did that go? What was that like?
It was really great. Those were the first arena shows that we had ever played. And it was, I mean, we love Casey and we love Casey's songs. So like just getting to hear her set every night was pretty great. But also getting to play those huge arenas and hear people sing our songs was pretty surreal. So yeah, very grateful to that.
Very cool, very cool. So did you have to kind of change the way you presented your live situation in such a large venue?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I would say that we kind of come out, we're whenever we play a show, we're trying to go all out. And so we apply that principle regardless of the room.
Right.
And also, to be honest, like when you're playing in an arena, you can't really see past the pit if the lights are off. So
That's
it
kind
is,
of a bummer.
I mean, like it's like I'm just trying to connect with the fans that are, in front of us. And I think it can kind of ground you in like that situation rather than getting caught up in the vastness of the arena.
And do you and Casey have crossover fans, overlapping fans, do you think?
It kind of feels like we did. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Casey makes, I guess, what we could categorize as country music, but she's also just a great pop songwriter. And her most recent record is more exploratory, I think, in terms of genre. And I think her fans are fans of pop music as well as country and just maybe good songs. So yeah, we were just like, we were honored to be included. And
that's pretty, it's pretty cool.
So
Double bill. And that seems to be what's happening with country music from my perspective. You're talking to these people and they're all, it's blurred lines everywhere, which is always good. Yeah. So tell me about the new album, just briefly, well, not even that briefly, but where it was recorded, how it was recorded, why it was recorded, all the nuts and bolts, the backstory,
Yeah. So we've been a band for a long time, and we are somewhat insular in our process making music. I generally, as a songwriter, like I don't really think about our projects like as albums. I kind of just live my life and continue to write songs. And so some of the first songs for this record were written like right after we turned in our second record, Save the World. And that was right before March 2020. And when the pandemic started, there was a period of time where we all kind of paused. We weren't making music together. And then we also got dropped by our record label in like early pandemic days. So there was kind of this moment in time when like the wheels on Muna stopped turning, and we had a real moment of like coming together, having conversations about like whether we still felt fulfilled by the project and there was still a purpose for us to continue working on songs. And we ultimately decided like that this project has always been the most meaningful thing in our lives. And there was still like goodwill in our community of artists. And there were people who still like wanted to support us. One of those people is Phoebe Bridgers, who ended up signing us to her label. And so there was a period of time where we got a room, like a small studio rented to us for cheap by a friend. And we started just showing up. We like had a pod and we just showed up every day and worked on the songs that we had, like just treated it like a 9 to 5 and didn't really know where it was leading, but just tried to like really immerse ourselves in the process of it. And then eventually like Naomi and Joe moved in together that was kind of like the third chapter. Like they moved to a house that has its own studio room. So we finished the record in that studio. But this is like, in some ways, like the most self-produced album that we've had, which is funny because it probably sounds like the most polished album that we've released.
Right. So how did that happen? Why did that happen, do you think? Is it just practice?
I feel like, yeah, like just years of making records. And I think, I don't know, we were fortunate enough to like have had a label situation that encouraged us to continue doing music the way that we were doing it, which was at the time self-produced. And yeah, we were lucky in the early stages of our career to have people who were willing to let us continue to do that and let us grow sort of in front of an audience. And I think that like the way that we were doing it was connecting to like the way that we were making the songs found a home with our like fans. And so, yeah, it just like allowed us to continue to do it. And we worked with other producers, and I feel like I learned a ton from just being around them and even being around the guy who mixes our stuff. His name is Dan Greck. He's like the most talented mixer. He's incredible. And I just want to shout him out as much as possible because he's so talented. But yeah, just being around a lot of people and being encouraged by people to like keep doing it.
So it must have been quite an emotional roller coaster going from being dropped, having the pandemic hit, then getting signed to Phoebe's label and coming together and making this record. So for the three of you, what was that like? I mean, was it hard? Was it inspiring, motivating? How would you describe it?
I would say all, I think it was that way, for people who weren't even, making art at that time. The emotional roller coaster that was 2020, I think, was the craziest year in my existence. I can't speak for you guys, but I think that's kind of how it was for a lot of people, I think, who are at least from our generation, who haven't maybe experienced like maybe like wars that we were, personally like drafted to, or, like things like that. I would say that the pandemic was probably just one of those experiences was not earth shattering, but kind of.
Yeah.
I would say that maybe getting dropped in some ways, and getting dropped was maybe a very motivating factor in the making of this record, because it's like, well, if we're dropped and we don't have another album to turn in, who is gonna make us make the record but ourselves?
Yep.
And also, I think we've always felt like we've had a lot to prove as a band. And I think maybe feeling that way has always, been a motivating factor for us. And especially like I don't know if we took getting dropped personally, but I do think it.
How can you not?
Yeah. It brings up stuff. And I think in the end, we always use, those moments that are lows as ways to fuel the fire of, continuing on.
Right. Anybody else want to add to that before we move on?
Yeah, I think just the truth of the matter is that like I think there were some people around us who had a lot of clarity about the fact that we got dropped sort of immediately, and were immediately like, oh, this is a good thing. Like, you should be happy about this.
Oh,
and then
cool.
like, yeah. And our management were like, you might not have been able to make the record that you wanted to make had you continued being in that situation. It's very likely that you wouldn't have been able to make the record that you want to make,
right?
That you will want to make in 6 months when you want to make music again. So yeah, we were grateful to have like a lot of people around us who are of sound mind and have good judgment.
And of course, you've released 2 or 3 tracks already. One of them has Phoebe Bridgers on, silk chiffon. So that probably wouldn't have happened. Tell me how it did happen. How did you rope her into that?
I'm high and I'm feeling anxious inside of the CVS when she turns around halfway down the aisle with that you're on camera smile, like she wants to try me on. And life's so fun, got my mini skirt and my rollerblades on, bag on my side cause I'm not too gone, keeping it light like social fun.
It's funny because we had been talking to her about Silk before we signed, but we absolutely were like, when we were signing, we were like, do the song with us if we sign. Right. But like, no, I think that we were like, that was just very much a part of the conversation. I've been like friends with her collaborator and drummer Marshall for a little while, and I sent him that song like in early 2020, like right after I'd started writing it, and he was just like, I love this song, and he sent it to Phoebe. And so I think, yeah, it had been a conversation for a while, but it worked out so well because I didn't have a second verse for that song, and the only thing that like really motivated me to write the second verse was writing a verse for Phoebe. I was like, oh, well, I know what to write if Phoebe's going to sing it. And then everyone ended up thinking that Phoebe wrote it because it's so Phoebe, like the lyrics are so Phoebe, but I was just writing like, this is what I would write as Phoebe, you know?
Right. Cool. It looks like you guys have a good time making the videos too. Kind of girl is fantastic to watch and anything but me. How involved are you in the process of that?
We're lucky enough to be able to work with like our very close friends. One of them the director who did Anything But Me and Silk is my partner. So I'm like keeping her up, late at night being like, and what if we did this? And then, he thinks I'm nuts. But so she allows us to like, work through what the videos could be with her and like be pretty collaborative. But when it comes to like being on set, I think it is nice to have people that you really trust, because like we don't know how to make a music video.
You say that you want to change, but I hope you get everything you want. Everything you want. You say that you need relief, well I hope you get everything you need. Everything but me.
And like, yeah, and the person who did Kind of Girl is my partner's like best friend from childhood. So we keep it in the family for sure.
Was it all done one shot?
I could get up tomorrow, talk to myself real gentle, work in the garden.
Yes. Yeah. That was
I gotta ask, how many times you ran through it before you got the one?
Oh, I mean, we rehearsed the whole day, but yeah, we didn't really have. We wanted to shoot it at magic hour, so we really only have like about 45 minutes to nail it. So we just were going, trying to get it. And we got to do another video.
Oh yeah, that's another video. For which song?
For a song, I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Ooh.
It's one of the ones on. It's one of the first couple songs on the record. If you go to album,
were you gonna say it's one of the songs on the album?
It's one of the 11 songs.
That narrows it right down. Thank you.
I would say, but I just don't know if I'm allowed to. We have one other single that's gonna come out, and we're gonna try and do a fun video for that too. But we're keeping busy, or like maybe not entirely of our own volition, but just because of the momentum of what's happening for the project right now, which ultimately feels really, really good and is really validating. So we're just riding the wave. We're trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night and keep it pretty regular. And so, yeah.
So do you feel like a different band than when you started out?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Same people though. So I think there is
older.
Older. We're a little more stable, maybe.
Yeah, just grown up. The business is more grown up. We're more grown up. The music is more grown up. But I would just say we're a better band. We've done this for a minute, and I'm excited to take these songs on the road and absolutely rock people's worlds, because they don't know, what they're going to get. They're going to be absolutely shook to their core when they see a Muna show. Yeah, get ready.
It's fun, like as a musician, if you are able to stick around for long enough, like there's lots of moments that feel very full circle. We went back to South by Southwest this last year and played a couple shows, and it just made me remember like when we first started touring, one of the first things we did was South by, and I was just so nervous. Like it wasn't the fun kind of nervous. I was like truly feeling like I'm not up for this. Like I can't do this. And I wasn't able to enjoy myself because I didn't have enough self-belief. And I think the only thing that got me through at that time was like knowing that my bandmates were really talented and I believed in them. But it feels really, really good to, and like we're about to go on this promo trip. We're playing a festival in Brighton that was again like one of like a show we played very early on. And I think it just feels so good to go back to those things and be like, let's fucking go. Like it's just like when you've kind of earned your stripes, and that's due to like our fans continuously showing up for us, like so many people continuing to believe in us. Like that's why we have been able to get better as a band. So it feels really good.
All righty.
We need to get down there for sure. I have family there, so I need to.
Ooh.
I need to.
In New Zealand?
Yeah. I have cousins. I have my first cousin and her kids who are all half Maori. So shout out to the fam.
Excellent. All righty. Well, I'm sure they'll be there and supporting you all the way. Very good. Have a great day, folks. And thank you very much for talking to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Marty.
Of course. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.